Hello, Voices. I'm Joe Troy, and welcome to a VOICEOVER'S audio adventure, a bi-weekly podcast where we talk voiceover, audio, and everything in between. My guest today is a former journalist and TV producer who has worked with NBC, USA Today, and Bloomberg News. She now leads Riverside FM's community of thousands of podcasters, content creators, marketers, business owners, and producers. Please welcome Kendall Breitman. Hello.
Hello. Hi. Wow. Hello.
Yes. Welcome to the show we have here. You are a woman of many hats and many skill sets. And I want you to talk all about it today and hopefully help the listeners. But as I always like to do when we start off, how did you get here? How did your journey get you to this point? Where was the first creative spark?
Yeah. Wow. I don't even know where to start, but I guess, you teased a little bit during the intro, like my background's in journalism and political journalism. So I covered the 2016 presidential election in the US, which was crazy. It was Trump's first election. And I think that no one knew where the world was even going to go. So it was very cool to get this front row seat to that moment in time. Cool is one word for it. Just to cover that was just such a crazy time because it's just I don't think that anyone would have predicted that in American politics 10 years before that, you know?
Yeah.
So I was covering politics, and then I ended the contract with Bloomberg and moved over to NBC and was covering that. And I was like, okay, my plan is that I'm going to, for 2020, do it all over again. I'm going to cover the 2020 election.
You didn't learn from the first time.
Yeah. Well, I was from the first time I was like, oh my God, there's a way that you look at politics, political coverage when you're a journalist that you just it's about kind of chasing stories in the same way that not to sound crude anyway, but in the same way that somebody who's covering sports covers sports. It's they call it a horse race, the horse race of it. What are people even what's a candidate wearing in Iowa that they're wearing, and what are they wearing in New York, and how do they speak about things differently, and how do they present themselves differently? There's so much to unpack. And it was kind of where do we go from here as a country? So I was excited for 2020. Then I met my wife and moved abroad. And I was like, okay, well, I can't cover U.S. politics anymore if that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, what do I do next? And it is a cliche in journalism that you either go to marketing or PR afterwards. And that's exactly what I did. Thankfully, though, didn't cover 2020 because that was Joe Biden on Zoom. It was COVID. So they're you weren't traveling around the world or anything. I went into marketing. I was like, okay, maybe I'll do content writing. That seems like the next step. Hated content writing.
Yeah.
And then started learning more about Riverside reached out about a community manager role. And I was like, what the heck is that? And then as I learned more about it, I was like, okay, it's about what I actually loved about journalism, hearing a bunch of different people's stories, learning what drives people, and then saying, okay, what's the story in this? What do we follow? What do we chase? What's emotionally driving this? I think that's what I loved about it. So it's kind of, people are usually how did you go from journalism to community? But I don't know. I feel there are a lot of, especially when the community of podcasters, of YouTubers, it's kind of has to do with TV too, in a way.
Were you working much with audio or podcasting when you were doing journalism?
So when I was, for 2016, I was part of a weekly radio hit that I did for Bloomberg. Yeah. And then we're doing a TV show. So it was mostly visual, but of course there's a lot of audio in that. And, has kind of the basis. But the closest I was getting to it was really radio and sometimes appearing on people's podcasts. But otherwise, that was not a field that I had been in, really.
Okay, so you have touched upon briefly what it is you do. But for the listeners out there who don't know what Riverside is, do you want to give them a little rundown on what it is and what it does?
Yeah, so we're recording on Riverside right now. Thank you.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we are.
Shout out Riverside.
So we're an end-to-end recording, editing, transcribing, clipping platform that a lot of podcasters use, voiceover artists will use as well, marketers, YouTubers, and basically you're able to record conversations in high quality. And then afterwards you can edit them, transcribe them, clip them. So yeah, it's a really incredible tool. And also it really brings a really incredible like community to it, because there are just very interesting people that are doing podcasts that are on YouTube and really using Riverside as a means to create the content that they want to put out there end to end.
What does your day-to-day look like, and how do you help people?
Yeah. So when I describe, like, we have like these miniature meetings when people join and they're like, what is community? So how I've learned my elevator pitch of community now is that it's kind of like a two-way bridge, a two-laned bridge. And so the bridge is between the product and the users. Okay. So product, on one side of it, it's like I'm communicating what the product needs to communicate to the users. Like, hey, we have a new feature out, or we want to teach you more about how to succeed on social media. So that's kind of one side of the bridge. The other one is user to product. So it's like if people have a feature that they'd really love, or if they have feedback on a feature that we've put out, or if they want to beta test, if they want to, like, basically facilitating being the user's voice within Riverside. And so it's like a very cool job, because what I love about it is that I actually, like, everyone works really hard on these features, and I get to be the one that actually sits down on calls with people in the community and like hear how it's actually helping these people. So yeah, I kind of think that I have the best job within Riverside, because because I'm actually like, I don't have to work on the coding all the features, but I do get to hear about, like, hey, I'm really loving this. So it's a really cool, it's very like extroverted, people person oriented job. But yeah, that's kind of but it means that every day is different. Like, some days I'll be on podcasts with users. Some days I'll do webinars. Some days it'll just be like meeting with the product team and them showing me new things and me saying they're going to love this, but their follow-up question is going to be, why doesn't it have this? So it's like, it changes day by day.
I'm sure you must get so many questions of like, why can't it do this? How it is to do this? It's like,
oh yeah. It's like, it should just be one line of code.
Yeah. How How
Yeah.
do you even start, though? Because you're getting dozens, if not, hundreds a day of requests of, things it should, the user wants to use. So how do you prioritize?
Yeah. So usually I know a rough roadmap. We don't like put our roadmaps out completely of like, here's what because it changes all the time. So we'll decide to prioritize something. So I have a rough roadmap of what's coming. So it actually kind of makes me excited when I see a bunch of people saying, hey, I want this. And I know it's coming. I'm like, you'll see it soon. Otherwise, if they're what I call quick wins sometimes, that I'm like, hey, if like, I know that this should be pretty easy for us to implement and these users are asking for it. So like, I'll flag it to the product team. The thing is that, like, what I think is really cool about how Riverside works is that our roadmap is really drawn out by, a lot of it is drawn out by what our users request. So we usually on top, like, when they request something, there's usually not going to be ones that are like completely out of left field. Usually we're like kind of on the same, at least if not completely on the same page, then like very much near the same page as what like people are requesting. Yeah. But then there's sometimes that I'm like, oh, that's actually like really, like, I use the tool also, and I have the same exact opinion on how this works. And you just pass it to the product team, and they'll be like, "Oh wow!" and it really like gets their creativity going. So some features, it'll be like, I don't know how many people are going to be using this and needing this. Then some, it's like, yes, this will be a quality of life benefit for everybody, and it's just about like balancing that with how much time will be put into putting it out. You learn it over time.
Yeah. How I want to speak to you directly. Actually, how do you build community?
Yeah, I would say that in a world where like we're so plugged into AI and so many people are online, I mean, everyone's online, I think that what people really crave is like authentic connection. And I think that that's what's missing from a lot of brands, is that they're putting out all of the things that they know they should be putting out, like newsletters and updates, things like that. But like what some brands are missing is the humanness of it all. Because I think that stuff inspires love from people.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that that's from any, like, it doesn't have to be a company. It could be a podcast. It can be your small business that you're running. Like, it's basically about just forming a human connection with people. So how do I do that? The first is like, I really research everything. Like, I researched before I even began working with the community directly, like what do they care about? Because I had an idea that podcasters want to network. That's why they want to be in community. But that's not true.
Yeah.
They want to learn from each other. They want to like support. They want to be able to ask questions to people. So once you do that, it's like I call it kind of like figuring out the party you're throwing in a way. So like who's coming to the party? What kind of music would they want to listen to? What kind of food would they like to eat? It's like thinking about community in that sort of way. And that comes with just having conversations with people. So one, I think that it's like about being hyper focused on who you're speaking to and what they care about. And then two, I think that it's like putting a lot of effort into making sure that those people feel seen and heard. So like we were talking earlier about if I have a feature request from someone, I'll write down the person and who had it. And then when it comes out, I'll tag them and I'll say like, hey, you requested this and it's out. And that could even be like, we've been working on it for months. And I like, it's not that like they said, let's put this feature out and we're like, okay, now we're on it. It's just that like, I hear them, I see them. I want them to know that like their request was actually like felt here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that it's really just like driving it with human interaction or checking back in on people. I don't know. That's like, there's a lot of different ways that people build community. But I think that when you lead with human connection first, like that's the best thing to do.
What should you not do?
Ooh, okay. What should you not do? I think that there's like this whole world of like automation and templatizing and like, yes, do that for what you need to do it for. I would not do that so much for community. Like, I think that you can see through people. I've become much better at seeing through a template. Like if you're sending me something that you've sent to like 20,000 other people, not maybe less, like I can see through that. And that's not like, then it's kind of like, it's the opposite of what community is supposed to be instilling, which is like one-on-one connection. So if you're taking the time to like write to somebody specifically, just even like changing a few sentences, if you are using a template, which I don't recommend, but like make it something personal. What I wouldn't do is try to like automate the community process so much, because like that's literally the opposite of what we're trying to do here.
Do you want to talk more about the actual community on Riverside and how that works and how, somebody might be able to find it?
Yes, community. So main community page is Conversation Creators by Riverside. It's on Facebook. And so kind of like the community is mostly it's podcasters, YouTubers, small business owners who have podcasts, course creators, marketers, basically people that are creating these conversational videos, right? And I think that a lot of them also are doing it remotely. And so the thing with that is that a lot of them are creating and they might not have many friends that are also creating. And so it can become pretty lonely, like I'm sitting here in my studio right now. And then when we finish the interview, you kind of unplug and you're like, all right, alone. But also like you don't have other people that are like understand the struggle of it, understand like the feelings. I had a conversation the other day with a community member about like the first time somebody bought merch from their website, and it's like those kinds of things that other people that are in this community can understand and like celebrate with you, but also can understand like, I've been looking for 10 hours at cameras. Somebody please dig me out of this hole and just tell me what camera to get,
Yeah.
So that's like really the community. I'm trying to like, we try to make it as supportive as we can. And I think that we've really gotten that. Like, it's just a place to support each other and help each other out and learn from each other. Like my basically when I started at Riverside, I just did 1 month of straight interviews to like hundreds of users. It would be even people that would comment on our LinkedIn or on our Instagram. I'd reach out personally and say, hey, I saw that you commented. I'd love to hear more about you. And I'd get on calls all of the time.
Wow.
And then from there, I'm like, what are the connecting threads? Like, what do people care about? What do they like when they're like looking for community? Like what party, as I said before, would they go to, And so that's kind of how I started building Riverside's community. Then it became, I posted like if you're trying to build your own community, anyone listening, I started posting like every single day on this community. And as time goes on, I don't have to do that anymore because people are starting their own conversations. But in the beginning, they needed a push. And it's also because I wanted to set the tone for what kind of conversations we wanted. So I'd say like, what is one huge thing that you wish you knew when you started podcasting? Is there any great advice that you got? Like, trying to push the conversation into learning and teaching. And then as it went on, like I'd see that people were commenting a lot on my stuff. Okay, if you're commenting a lot, I'll write to you and say, hey, let's meet. I'd love to meet you over a call and learn more about you. So then it became that these avatars became real people and that I understood and then I knew, and then it became even more supportive and snowballs from there.
Where is the most successful platform that you find networking works better?
Networking like with other community members?
Yeah. Or just connecting with like-minded people and building your own community. Yeah.
I think like if you're building your own community, it's going to be different for every person and every audience. So for us at Riverside, we liked Facebook because, and I think that kind of like groups is like a last dying breath of Facebook, if I will.
Yeah. That's the only time I use Facebook, literally.
Exactly. Like I feel
like I'm forced to. I'm like, do I have to?
Exactly. No, but it's also like, I think that what we wanted, like, so there's Circle, which is great community platform, but you go to Circle specifically for the community. And so we didn't want, and with those kinds of platforms, if you're a company or something, like it ends up becoming a lot of like, it can sometimes end up becoming a technical channel because there's people saying, like people going there to be like, hi, this isn't working, or hi, I'm having trouble with this. You know what I mean? So we wanted something that's like part of your scroll, like that maybe a question about what microphone to buy is sandwiched between like your aunt posting pictures of their vacation and like somebody that you went to high school with posting a life update. You know what I mean? So that's part of what we wanted. And then, but it could be LinkedIn. It could be Discord people are using for that. We have a Discord channel as well, but our main one's on Facebook. I think that it kind of just depends on where your audience is. And so if you talk to people and see where they are, then that's a great place to start. Even on like YouTube, they have community tabs. I just haven't really like explored that so much.
That's the thing though. There's so many, and I think I use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably my number one for like just meeting people, like business wise, and the creative side is more Instagram in a weird way. Yeah, just to see what people are doing.
But the problem is that, like, Instagram's not really community. Like, that's the hard part. Is that, like, it's kind of audience. It's like, I'm broadcasting this thing to you and you can comment and we can talk to each other. But it's harder for, like, those people to talk to each other. I would say, like, for you, it'd be probably LinkedIn because it's a profession. But then also, like, you can connect with everyone on Instagram. But as far as, like, building community, it'd probably be LinkedIn. As far as reaching out, LinkedIn for me was a huge one because there were so many people writing like, I use Riverside and I love it. And when I'd see it, I'd say, hey, I'm Kendall. I want to talk with you. People were more surprised by Instagram. I think they don't expect like to get a DM from somebody saying you commented on this post. I would love to hear from you. On LinkedIn, people were like, yeah, of course you're writing to me. Like that's how it is here. So I think naturally LinkedIn's more like a fit for that. I would even go on like Reddit and stuff like that and see.
Damn.
Yeah, I'd go on Reddit and write to people, or I'd go on like podcasting and just sort like if you're doing a community, I'd recommend. I sorted by like most popular post. Okay. Yeah. What are the themes there? A lot of them was tech. Okay. I want to make sure that my community has a lot of focus on the best tech to use. Like you can gain insights from any of those other communities.
There was one, I'm late to the party. As always, but Substack, is that another one as well?
Yeah. I don't think you're that late to that party. Yeah, okay. The party's still going.
Can I come in? I literally signed up.
The food has not run out yet. Yeah, there's still drinks. The food's still there.
Yeah. But it's a very interesting time in terms of where to put your community, and I think that's what I struggle with. Meeting people and networking, that side of thing, I think is kind of, we kind of know how to do it for the most part, but just finding the home for your community that's the part that I'm just deciding where I want to go. Yeah, I'll let the listeners tell me what they want.
Yeah, like cause here first, tell them, like ask them to tell you where they want it. But also, I think the hard part is like audience and community, two different things in my mind. So when it's an audience, it's like you speaking out to a bunch of different people. And when it's community, what you're trying to foster is that all of those people that you're speaking out to are also speaking to each other. It becomes like arrows everywhere of like who's talking to who. And so I think that when you have something like a podcast, it's very easy to have like an audience not easy to have an audience, but like it's easy to be able to have your voice in front of people. But what
Yeah.
the hard part is to facilitate a space where all of those people you're speaking to, who all have a similar topic of interest because they're listening to you, all have
Yeah.
a place to talk about that together. So what I'd recommend is, instead of having a voiceover, I'm just using it as an example,
Yeah.
like your podcast name community, like why not have like a voiceover artist community? And then, oh, it just so happens that it's from my podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's a way of getting people in your podcast, but it's also a way of like that's why we're not the Riverside community. We're like conversation creators by Riverside, because we're like, okay, what we're trying to do is make it bigger than Riverside. What you should try to do in your community is make it bigger than your podcast. It should be about people who all have a certain topic of interest that I, as this podcast, have facilitated the space for you all to connect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
That's what I'd recommend.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I wanted to touch upon this briefly. So I started using Riverside in 2022, and I took a year out of this podcast, and I started again this year. But when I came back, it was night and day from how Riverside has just, I was like, you could do this now? You could do this? Like, what? And
I think you started when I joined around
oh, really?
same time. So I'm with you on this.
It was completely different. Like I stopped using it in like 2024. Yeah, then I stopped for a year, and then it was basically a new site. Yeah. Where I'm going with this is, because of all the features that I saw, I was thinking to myself, has there been any pushback from creators in terms of, I feel like anyone can edit now. Now you've got people that have been trained in editing and doing all this stuff for years. How did they feel about platforms like Riverside, who I wouldn't say are taking their jobs, but they're making the entry point a lot lower? Have you had any pushback from that?
Like a little bit, I would say. I think that the thing is that we have a lot of audio editors that are using Riverside and have their clients use Riverside because of like the quality of the files.
Yeah.
So I think that like, okay, so for me, for an example, I, as a former journalist, like sometimes does it annoy me that like anyone can now be a journalist because they have a TikTok and they can just say like, hey, this is the news that I'm hearing, and have a reaction to it. Like, yeah. But also as a journalist, a former journalist now, I know how to root out like really great journalism from somebody who's just picking up their phone and kind of just talking, you know?
Yeah.
So I do think that like Riverside kind of democratizes the process. Like, there's so many more people that can just edit themselves. But I do also think that when somebody, first of all, like even if you could do it yourself, the amount of time that people have to podcast is usually like, it's not their full-time job.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the time, maybe they'll start by doing it DIY, but then after a while, they'll be like, let me just pass this over to an editor. And I also think that like the need for quality audio editing is always going to be there. Even if you're able to do it yourself, I think that there's an ear for it. I think that you can agree with me on this. Like, there's just an ear for knowing how to edit audio. There's an ear for knowing how to do transitions, when one topic should be over, when you should move on to the next one, how you should move from one topic to the next. So I think that like, while many people are able to do it, I do think that it still takes a great amount of expertise to do it really, really well. So the people that are going to be editing themselves, like I would say that like a lot, like there's probably is like pushback. I haven't heard so much pushback from audio editors on it, because I do think that they are still able to find people that want their audio and video edited. I think that now it's just become a lot easier because they're not handing you like a compressed Zoom file. It's like, okay, well, at least I got something to work with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's a combination of like, when they do give you projects, that it's better audio, but then also in the idea that like the people who are going to want to DIY are probably going to be the same people that were put it in GarageBand before. You know what I mean? Yeah. But now they're just able, like you're able to do it a lot better. And when you get to the point where you're maybe able to monetize, you'll pass it on to an audio editor. Does that make sense?
No, that makes a lot of sense, because I've kind of self-taught myself how to edit anyway. And, I do work as a producer and other stuff. And when I've been editing podcasts, I've been using Logic. And what I would do would be, they would record it in Riverside, and then I would get the files, and then I would edit it. And then what I would always find is when I send it back to them, they were like, oh, can you do this in Riverside? And then I was like, oh, so you don't mind if I use Riverside, those functions. So yeah, it's definitely learning how to use it in the correct way. And it's about, like you said, picking and choosing when to use it and when not to use it, because there's not literally a one button that does everything for you.
Exactly.
So,
It's also like there are some agencies that, like, when I look at what they give to their users, it is like they're just clipping on Riverside. And it's like, oh my gosh, like the people that are using Riverside, it's like, you could be doing this too. But like a lot of the time it's just like they could, but it's much easier if somebody else is doing it. Or they could, but maybe they don't have like the social media know-how. Like there's so many things that I just think are very obvious, like, oh, how to find your hook. But then we do a whole workshop on hooks, and the questions that we get in, I'm like, oh, what I think is like, oh, you just need this engaging moment. Well, what is an engaging moment? Like, what gets people to stop? Like, all of the things that you think are like obvious, maybe, are not obvious to other people. And so it's just kind of like keeping that part in mind, I guess.
As I've seen your content on YouTube and Instagram and all those other good places. If you could start a podcast tomorrow, what would it be?
No. I have a lot of podcast ideas. I have like a podcast with my friend that we want to like make this like kind of like the idea of like the thing about, and like talk about just random topics. But I also know from doing this long enough that an anything and everything podcast usually doesn't do so well, because you need to have a niche. Like you need to focus on something. I have like a really horrible, I would almost say guilty pleasure, but I don't feel guilty about it. I'm trying to rise above it. I love like stupid reality TV. I could talk about it for hours. Like I could. So I think that would probably be like my most likely thing to start a podcast on. Just because I could like you need to be able to talk about it and be like excited to talk about it. And so when I think that would embarrassingly enough be that, I think like professionally I could talk about like community and that type. Like I think that stuff gets me excited too. But if I were to just like be handed a microphone and start a podcast tomorrow, like you'd hear a lot about ridiculous reality TV from me.
I so wish sometimes I could do that, like literally just talk trash and just put it out there. But like you said,
could.
Well, people are saying this is trash, but who knows? But what I mean is, it's like, you need that niche. It's like, unless you're the most famous person on the planet.
Oh yeah,
and you can talk
the,
about
like
whatever
anything
you
and
want.
everything podcast. You're like, okay, but like who's listening to that? Unless you're like, you could do it in a way. Like you could be like, we're two married men that talk about anything. Like if you have a lens that you're talking about anything and everything through
the perspective of that could like
work. That can be the niche. But otherwise, it's I have so many different podcast ideas. I just like never end up doing them. I think that like the problem is that a lot of people go into podcasting and then they learn how much like work goes into it, and they're like, oh, but I'm driven by this passion. I have the opposite problem where I have worked in this industry for long enough that I know how much work goes into it. So I can't go into it blind being like, I just have something I want to talk about. I'm like, well, if I talk about it, I'm going to need to create clips. I'm going to need to put out this many episodes and batch record. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I also have a 1-year-old. How in the world would this happen?
It's a lot. And that's why I took a year out, because I was like, nah, I got a lot going on right now and I need time. And even when I brought this back, I forgot how much there is to do. I'm like, okay, I've recorded it now. Cool. I'll put it out. No, go edit it. Oh, now I'm doing visuals. Now I'm doing, it's like,
gotta say a thumbnail.
Is it?
Yeah, no, there's
is the thumbnail going to be acceptable? Is it? Slug.
It's also, I mean, I think that the unsung thing that people don't talk about enough is also like kind of the like, I call it like getting over the cringe in a way. For me, this is how I think about it, is that like, I'm nervous to put myself out there. Like the idea that I can go on a podcast, like it's so easy for me to be going on a podcast. But the moment that I think about like starting my own podcast or my own TikTok or anything, like I get so nervous about like the idea of somebody seeing me doing something online that's like from my high school. I don't know why. Like this is a weird, it's not weird because I think a lot of people can relate to it. It's just like, I feel like I'm holding myself back from doing some of this stuff because I'm like, well, how will this be perceived by people I haven't spoken to in 20 years? You know what I mean? Like so that's been a 2026 goal of mine, is to like get over that.
You'll be fine. You will.
I hope so. I mean, it was a 2025 goal too, and we're still here talking about it. So we'll see. For now, I've just been going on other people's podcasts. I'm like, I'll just hide behind your brand, and Riverside's and the cozy blanket of Riverside's brand, So, yeah.
All right. Before I let you go, what is next for Kendall?
Oh, well, we kind of just teased to it. I really like.
I know, right?
Yeah. Like I want to put myself out there more. I really, especially when I'm working with podcasters and creators all of the time, it's like I'm really inspired and kind of like envious of the way that like they can so confidently put themselves out there and their stories and put out a show. So it's something that I want to start trying to do more of. I'm going to be trying to do one for Riverside soon, hopefully. We'll see. Okay. But like maybe that'll be like the door that kind of opens it into like gaining that confidence to do something of my own at one point. But that's really my goal, is to be putting myself out there more and be kind of practicing a bit more of what I preach when I talk to creators. And I'm like, just hit record, Yeah. And so my plan is to just hit record.
And that we're going to leave off on that. That is like the perfect way. Just press record. That's
just do it.
Well, thank you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. Everyone out there who hasn't used Riverside, make sure you go check it out. It's an amazing platform and I wouldn't be here without it. And thank you for listening. And until next time, bye-bye.